One moment here. This thing decided to go a little crazy, and for some reason, it doesn't want to work properly. So I'm going to have to go back on this. Hold on one moment. I'm going to have to go back and I'm going to have to add all of the info and the pretty thumbnail and all that other wonderful stuff that I had already set up. So I'm going to have to go back. I'm going to have to add all that stuff in. I don't know what happened this time. I don't know if YouTube changed some kind of setting because actually, let me welcome you first. Welcome to the studio. This is Carla. Welcome. So, yeah, I had a nice pretty thumbnail and everything else done and all the stuff in the description, links and all that other stuff, and it was there. It was good. And I decided, okay, well, I was going to schedule something, the one I'm going to do next Friday, and I don't know if that messed it up. I don't know if YouTube just decided to change something. All I know is when I went to go live with that one, it was telling me that I was in vertical mode, which I wasn't. It was set at horizontal. And, yeah, I don't, it was putting me like in this little circle on my phone. And I don't know what that means, but that's not the way I wanted it to go. So right now there's nobody on. So I guess that's a good thing. That you didn't have to go through the, I think 30 or 3 seconds or whatever it was that the other video did. So what I'm going to do is after this is all said and done, I'm going to go back. I'm going to add the thumbnail. I'm going to add the description, the links. I'm going to add the link for the host code if you want the not make and take, but the card kits of the projects that I am doing tonight. And yeah, I'm going to have to fix that all up so it's the way it's supposed to. So welcome again, everybody. Let's hope we can get through this tonight. Um, it's rainy, it's windy, it's cold. I don't know if it's going to storm while I'm on live, but I'm also praying and hoping that the power doesn't go out either. Because if that goes out, then I'm going to have to figure out going live maybe tomorrow. But let's pray that's not the case. Okay, so let me go and flip this camera or the phone and let me get it all lined up the way it's supposed to. And if you're looking at the light on my ceiling, okay, so let me move this. I'm looking at my tablet and my computer, and I just want to make sure I get this centered. There's a little bit of a delay. Move it over a little bit. I was trying to test this out. Move that up just a little bit. And we'll tape this down. And we'll just turn that a little bit. All this work just to get this thing set up. It's crazy. It's crazy. Okay. So I'm going to leave it alone. And I'm just going to do a little bit of housekeeping stuff before we actually get started in with the projects. So currently we are still going through Celebration. Celebration will end at the end of February. So on February 29th, celebration will be over. So for celebration, there's free products. So for every $50 or towards the back, for every $100, you can choose free product out of this brochure. So there's stamp sets, there's DSP, there's some embellishments, there's ribbon, and there's also there's dies, and then there's a bundle that's got an embossing folder as well. Also for celebration, now in regards to the free product with every $50 or $100 that you spend, Stampin' Up! Has added more stuff to the celebration offering. So these are products that are in either the annual catalog or they're in the new mini catalog. And then they got two kits here, which are on the online exclusive. So any of these items that you would like instead of what's in a brochure, when you go to place an order, there once you put the stuff in and you advance to the next screen, it's going to bring, if you qualify for celebration items, it's going to show you all the offerings that are for $50 and also for 100. So these products here, even though they're in a catalog, in a current catalog, or they're online, the item numbers on these are actually different than what's actually in the catalog. Because if you were to put the other number in that what's in the catalog, what's going to happen, it's not going to recognize it. But they made it really simple that they got the little pictures and you can just click on it to add it as your celebration item. One of the really cool items in here is this delightfully eclectic 12 by 12 designer series paper. That's a free offering with a $50 purchase. This is a big pack of paper. This has 48 double-sided sheets on it. So this is a really good um, offering for celebration. So I just wanted to make mention of this because the next time I'll talk about it will be in my live next Friday, and then that will be the last Friday during celebration because the following Friday after that will then be March 1st and celebration will be over. So this is as far as the products go. Now, there's also two other, additions to celebration. There's a joining special. Now, you have two options with this. Both options are $99 plus tax. The shipping is free. And your first option is you can choose $125 in product. This could be product that's in our annual catalog, our current mini catalog, in our clearance rack, in the online exclusives. Um, Anything that's still current, you can add to your starter kit. So this first option, you can choose $125 a product, and you can get this Stampin' Glass Mat Studio that's retailed at $60. So it's a large 17 by 14, 5 millimeter thick, heavy duty, safety tempered glass crafting mat. It does have rubber feet on the bottom of it. Um, let's see. It's got a white background printed with a gray grid. It's heat and scratch resistant, and you can wipe it clean with water or alcohol. There is also a silicone mat that measures 8 3/8 by 6, and this is non-slip. You can place it on your glass mat, and you can either mix your inks in it. You can hold your ink pad. these little squares here will hold the little Stampin' Spots. And then it also comes with an 8 by 8 1/4 by 8 1/4 inch cleaning cloth. This is just like the chamois that our purple chamois that we sell. The only difference is this is bigger and it's also thinner. So that is the first option. Now, if you're not interested in the glass mat at all, the other option is it's again $99 plus tax with free shipping, and you get to choose $125, but in option 2 you get to choose an additional $30 in products. So a total of $155 in product you can have in your starter kit. Now, to join, to be a demo, do you have to do classes? Do you have to do videos? No, you don't. You can simply enjoy the discount. There's no commitments. It's just a quarterly minimum of $300. Now, these amounts that I'm giving you, this is for the U.S. market, okay? The amounts are going to be different based in the market that you may be living in. So Canada's going to be different. Europe's going to be different. South Pacific, those rates are going to be different. So the amounts I'm giving you right now is for the U.S. market only. So there's the option for joining. And like I said, the quarterly minimum is $300. And if you don't meet that quarterly minimum, you just simply go back as a customer. If you join in the month of February, um, you wouldn't have to meet your quarterly minimum until the end of June. Okay. The other offering that they also have during celebration is hosting and earning. So if you were to host, a party or a class, or if you personally placed a $300 order, you would get extra Stampin' Rewards. So on this, okay, so with the Stampin' Rewards, if your order is at least $300, you will get to choose an additional $30 in Stampin' Rewards. So those are what's going on with Celebration. And again, this will end on February 29th. Okay. The other thing that I'm going to make mention is what I'm going to be doing as far as my live next Friday. I will be featuring the Earthen Textures bundle. I've already started working on these projects and they're coming out really awesome. So for tonight, I'm actually featuring one stamp set, but it does not have any greetings in it. So I am featuring another celebration stamp set. So Watercolor Melon is the stamp set that we're going to use. And since there's no greetings in it, I'm going to be using the Heartfelt Hellos. Now this is a red rubber cling stamp set, whereas the Watercolor Melon is photopolymer. So for my projects, you can see there's little watermelon seeds on here. When I go to stamp those, I'm going to be using my Memento Tuxedo black ink for that, because that'll easily clean off of the photopolymer. But then for my greetings, I really want that really dark black color, so I'm going to use the Stays On ink, jet black ink for that. So with that, let me move these out of the way and let me bring in my first project. So this is the card that we'll be making right here. Got a little bit of Winged Stella there on the watermelon slices. So I'm going to start off with folding and burnishing my card base. Okay. And then I'm going to bring in my Flirty Flamingo ink pad. I'm also going to bring in my Granny Apple Green and the Memento Tuxedo Black ink. Okay, and then I have my stamps over here already mounted. Okay, so I have off to the side. This is the PDF that I create with all the projects that I do on my Friday Night Lives. If you would like these card kits to make these projects, you can place a minimum $35 order by next Wednesday, 2/21, and use this host code, and I will send you the card kit and this PDF, this free PDF as well. It has pictures of all the projects, and it has all the list of supplies and dimensions. So I have this off to the side just so I can follow along. So my card base is 8.5 by 5.5, scored and burnished at 4 1/4. I also have a piece of lemon lime twist. This measures 3 by 2.5. I have another layer of basic white. I have a layer of basic white. This one measures 3 1/4 by 2.5. And then I have another scrap of basic white. I'm going to stamp my watermelons on here, and then I'm going to fussy cut. Yeah, you heard me right. Fussy cutting. And if you know me, you know I don't like the fussy cut, but when there's no dies or anything that go with it, I have to suck it up and just do it. Okay, so I'm going to use my Flirty Flamingo ink, and I'm going to ink up this large watermelon. Now this stamp set, um, they don't have it on here, but this looks like a distinctive stamp set. They just don't have distinctive on it. Distinctive gives you a lot of detail into it, so a lot of shading, of the images. Okay, so I'm going to stamp one right here, and then I'm going to stamp another one right here, angling both of them. And again, once I'm done with this live, I will go back and I will add the pretty thumbnail that I had for this live, and I'll also have the link that includes this host code that you can just click on, and it'll take you right to my online store. And also, I'll be adding all the stuff that I had in the description. So it had the links and the list of supplies. It has other info, like if you want to sign up for my monthly newsletter. Yeah, it has all the info in there. I'm just going to have to go back and put it in after I'm done here. Okay, so I'm going to take this, I'm going to set it aside. I'm going to bring in my scrap piece here, and I'm going to bring in my slice of watermelon, and I'm going to ink that up in my Flirty Flamingo, and I'm going to stamp one over on this end, and then I'm going to stamp another one. See, and place that one right there. Okay, and then I'm going to bring in my Granny Apple Green ink, and I'm going to bring in the rind, and I'm going to line that up, get on my tippy toes here, And I'm going to line that up right at the base of that. Do it on this one. Now this rind is a little bit longer than the base of this watermelon slice, but that's okay. We'll be cutting it out. So, okay, and then I'm going to bring in my Memento Tuxedo Black ink, and I'm going to bring in the single watermelon seed. There is another stamp that has a cluster of 3 of them, but I just want this one because I'm going to stamp a total of 3 of them on each slice, and I want them spread out, so that's why I'm going to just use the single one rather than the cluster of 3. So I'm going to stamp 2 towards the bottom and 1 in the middle there up near the top. And then I'll do the same thing on this one. As you're coming on, say hi and let us know where you're visiting from. I always like to see, where people are watching from. See how, where the reach is as far as doing my videos and how they're going. Okay, so I'm going to set this aside for a moment. I'm going to bring in this piece of basic white. This was 3 1/4 by 2 1/2. So on this long side here, I'm going to bring in this stamp that says enjoy your day. This is from the Heartfelt Hello stamp set. Now I'm going to bring in my Stays On ink. Cleaning the Stays On ink, but this is a solvent ink, and it's a little bit easier to get this off of a red rubber stamp than it is from a photopolymer. You will not get this ink off. I'm going to ink that up really well, and I'm going to line this up straight, and hopefully I got this straight, and I'm going to stamp that right here. I really wanted a solid black for the greetings that I use on my cards, so that's why I decided to go and use 2 different black inks. Okay, so that gives it a nice crisp black image. Okay, now one of the things too, if you do this soon enough, cleaning, I'm using a Stampin' Scrub to clean my stamp. I can easily clean that without using the Stays On cleaner. Okay, so let me put that aside. All right, so let me bring in my scissors, and I'm going to cut these out. I'm just going to leave a little white border. And because these edges for the most part are straight, it's not hard. I mean, there's a little bit of a wave to the edge of them, but it's not that much. So these aren't too bad. Now, because they're easy lines to cut, I would not want to mass produce a card and have to cut these out. If I were to do that, that's where my brother's Scan and Cut would come in. Okay, so that's our one piece. Let me cut this one out. So I hope all of you have had a good week. It's Friday, and here in the US, Monday is President's Day. and off that day. So it's going to be a day of just getting my projects done, get them planned, and get done in advance because I do have swap cards, quite a bit of swap cards that I need to get completed for our upcoming on stage event happening in March. Okay, so I got that cut out, put that aside. Now on this piece here, I'm going to take my lemon lime twist piece and bring in my adhesive, and I'm going to add some to the back of this, and I'm going to add that and make sure that you're able to see it. So I want to add this out here. Okay, and then I'm going to add some adhesive. Well, try to add some adhesive to the back of that. Now I have a piece of our black and white 1/4 inch gingham ribbon. I've already gone ahead and cut a piece, and I'm going to just fold this in half, and I want a bit that sticks out from the top of the card, like so. Okay, and then on this enjoy your day piece, I'm going to bring in my dimensionals. I'm going to add some to the back of this. Okay, and then I'm going to add that right over that lemon lime twist piece. And I'm going to bring in my scissors, and I'm going to trim the ends of these tails. Turn it, don't want to cut my finger. Because our paper snips, they are sharp. Okay. And then for these two pieces of watermelon, I'm going to put some dimensionals on the back of these. Okay. All right, and then I'm going to add one over here. And then my other one right over here. And then I'm going to bring in my Stella, and I'm going to add some to the Flirty Flamingo portion of it, and I want to avoid going over the seeds because I don't want my Stella brush to pick up any of that black and smear it into the Flirty Flamingo. I'm just going to brush some of this on, going around those seeds. Okay. And now I'm going to bring in, let me see here, my iridescent rhinestone basic jewels and my take your pick tool. And I'm going to add a few of these onto my card. So I'll add one here, and then let's see, one of our medium-sized ones. I'm going to place that right here in the corner of this lemon lime twist piece. And then I'll take a smaller one and I'll add that up here between the two slices of watermelon. Okay, so let me put this stuff aside, kind of tidy up because this table gets messy very, very quickly. So there is the first card for tonight. So let me place this aside and let me clean up these stamps really quick. So I cleaned that one already. So far, what am I? I'm almost 32 minutes into this live and I don't see anybody on. I'm hoping that because I had to do a whole nother live that I don't know if anybody knows that I did. I don't know if how it's showing up. I would think that if they went to my page that it would be showing. I'm hoping that this isn't set to private. See, I like to do things in advance, so then that way everything flows really well. And now I'm hoping that this isn't set as private. Because if it's set at private, then nobody's going to come on at all. And if that's the case, I sincerely apologize in advance, guys. I don't know what was up with me when I first went to go live. I don't know. Okay, so for my second card, let me bring in all my pieces. And so this is going to be the card that we're going to make. Now, the big watermelon stamp, this one right here, this one coordinates with our modern oval punch. That punch was available in our holiday mini catalog, and it's actually carried over, so it does coordinate with a stamp set that's in our current mini catalog. And I don't have the punch. I what happens when catalogs are about to retire, and that's it. I try to get those items that are going away for good. So if I see something is going to carry over, it's like, okay, well, I can still get it. I don't have to worry about getting it right at this very moment. And then what happens is, yeah, and then when it comes to something like this, it turns out that that particular punch is on back order until March. So it was either create my projects, um, either stamping it, directly on the cardstock, or stamping it and fussy cutting it. And actually, none of my projects have any fussy cutting of that big watermelon. Okay, so I'm bringing out the other stamps that I need. So I'm doing this other slice here. And the greeting stamp that I'm using out of that heartfelt hellos is the hello stamp. I think I got all of that. So let me just go ahead and mount these. Now, for the red rubber, what I'd like to do is I like to, so if it's straight, but this isn't really straight, this has like a slight curve to it. If it were straight, I would line that straight edge of the bottom up with the bottom edge of the block. Because sometimes, you know, the red rubber, it may be curved, it may not be straight. So I like to take the bottom edge of the greeting or the stamp or whatever it is, and if I want it straight, I'll just line it up to the bottom edge. So then when I go to turn it around and stamp, I'm not really going to focus on looking at that. I'm going to look at this bottom edge right here. Okay, so this, like I said, this has a curve to the bottom of it, so it'll be a little hard to line that up. Okay, and then there's the leaf, and there's the watermelon slice, and then I have the rind for that. Okay, so for this piece, for this card, I'm going to take my cardstock. This is Granny Apple Green. This measures 5.5 by 8.5, and it's scored at 4.25. And I folded it, and I'm going to burnish it. I'm going to set that aside. Okay. Then for this piece of Granny Apple Green, this measures 5.25 by 4. And I'm going to bring in just a piece of scratch paper. And I'm going to place that right underneath this because I'll be stamping off. So I'm going to bring in the larger watermelon. And I'm going to bring in my garden green ink. So for this card, I'm using garden green. I'm going to use Granny Apple Green. And then for my watermelon, I'm going to use Calypso Coral. Okay, so let me open up my garden green. And I'm going to start off with stamping in the middle first. And then I'm going to work my way out. Because there's going to be a big part of the center of this that will be covered with a tag, but I want to try and at least have these watermelons kind of evenly spaced out on this piece of cardstock. Just randomly stamp them in different directions. And we take this one, stamp that down there. And I'll do one right over here. And we put one down this corner. I got a feeling that this thing is set at private. This video, when I went into this, when I went to go live, I went into the settings just to make sure that I was in the landscape orientation, but I got a feeling that this thing is set at private because, like I said, I'm a good ways into this live and nobody's come on in the chat. So I don't think anybody can even see that I am live right now. So when I'm all set, like I said, when I'm all said and done, everything's all said and done. I'm going to go back. I'm going to do what I need to do to add the thumbnail, to add the description and all that, and change it from private because honestly, I don't think, hold on, let me check one thing. Let me see if I can change it. I have right off to my left, I have my computer. And so I'm going to go in here and I'm going to do a quick check on that, because if it is, I'm hoping I can, okay, well, the visibility says it's public, so that means everybody can see it. Oh, man. Okay. Let me go back to this. All right. So it's not set as private, it is public, so I mean, that's good. I'm just hoping that, because usually there's um, two ladies that are part of, actually I need that are part of my Blue City Stampers team, that at least one of them would have been on, but I'm really hoping that it's not because their power went out, because around 5 o'clock it started getting windy. We were starting to get the rain, and yeah, it was getting windier and colder just as I was starting. So I'm hoping that their power didn't go out. Okay, so to carry on, I have cut out of basic white this tag. This is part of the tailor-made tags. Now this is the larger tag out of this set right here, and then there's another set that have more of a curved decorative top to it, so I'm just using the straight edged one. Okay, so on here I am going to bring in my Granny Apple Green as well, and then I'm going to bring in the leaf. Now I'm going to take this. Let me see how dark my Granny Apple Green is. Okay, that's not too bad. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to randomly stamp this leaf on my tag. This leaf has a lot of detail to it. I really, really like that. And then I'm going to stamp another one right here. And another one right up here. Okay. And then I'm going to clean this stamp. Bring in my Stampin' Scrub really quick. And I apologize if the camera is shaking, because the stand to it is attached to this table. So then I'm going to bring in my garden green. Now, because the garden green is much darker, I'm going to stamp this off, and then I'm just going to kind of fill in these white spaces on my tag. Really like how this tag came out. There's two different colored leaves on it. Let's see, let's stamp this one this way. And then stamp that off and go right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to stamp it off twice. And I'm just going to go over some of those white spots. I'll do this again, just so we don't have so much of the white showing. Okay, so I still need that one. I'm going to close up my Granny Apple Green. And then I'm going to take this stamp and I'm going to clean this off because it's got so much ink all over the block. And while I got this open, let me go ahead and clean this larger watermelon. Okay. And then let's see, what's our next step? So let me bring in my little scrap piece. So this is, yeah, like I said, this is just a scrap. Let me put this aside. We're not done with that yet. So on here, I am going to bring in my Calypso Coral. Now let me stamp this on my scrap. I want to see how dark it's going to be because I don't want this to be, okay, that's not too bad. So I'm going to stamp that right there in the middle. And that's all I'm going to stamp in this color. And then I'm going to bring in the rind to this watermelon. And I'm going to get up on my tippy toes and try and get that lined up like so. Okay. We're done with that. We're done with that. Now I'm going to bring in my hello greeting. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Hold on. Let me bring in my Memento Black because I want to add some of those watermelon seeds to this first. Because this piece I'll be fussy cutting this one as well. Okay, so I'll set that aside. And then let me bring in my StazOn and my tag. And let me ink this up. Make sure it's inked up really well. And then I'm going to stamp it right in this bottom left-hand corner. And I want to close this up. I don't want to leave that open because that, being that that's solvent ink, it will dry out. It will dry out quickly, and I don't want that to happen. Okay, so that looks really nice and bold with that, with the green behind it. So let me do this. Let me bring in my Stampin' Scrub and go ahead and clean this. If you get it right away, you don't need that StazOn cleaner. The StazOn cleaner has like a petroleum base to it, so it is oily. So usually when I use it on my stamps, I have to take, I would take like a baby wipe, a sensitive skin with no alcohol in it, and I'd wipe that off before I would then use my Stampin' Scrub to clean the stamp. Okay, so we got all those cleaned. All right, so what's next? Okay, so I'm going to take this, I'm going to set this aside, and then I'm going to bring in my snips, and I'm going to cut out this watermelon. Again, leaving a little bit of border. For some people, they say that they find fussy cutting very relaxing. They would, like if they were watching TV, they would sit there, and if they had a lot of stuff to cut out, they would just do it while they were watching TV. Well, for me, it's not relaxing because actually what it's doing, I'm starting to feel my finger kind of cramp up a little bit here. And yeah, if I was watching TV while I was doing this, I'd probably cut myself, and that would not be good because, like I said, these snips, they're sharp. Okay, I'm just going to take a little bit more of the white off the top. Okay, and then let me bring in my dimensionals, and I'm going to take two of these, and I'm going to add it to the back of my watermelon slice, and I'm going to add that right over here. Okay, now let me put that aside. Now for this piece, background piece that I had stamped, I'm going to bring in my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, and I am going to emboss this piece using this embossing folder. It's got a crosshatch design. This comes from the Basics 3D embossing folders. This is an online exclusive item, and I will tell you that these set of embossing folders, I use them quite a bit. So you have this one, that's the crosshatch design. That's the one I'm using tonight. But there's also a very deep polka dot. And then another one that is kind of like a floral type design on them. I really, really like these, and I highly recommend them. Okay, so let me bring in my machine. Now, usually I would do the die cutting and embossing and stuff before I would go live, so then that way it saves time. But for this, I needed to actually stamp this piece first before I can emboss it. So this is the only time for this live that I'll have to bring this in. And I apologize in advance again, because as I roll this through, it's going to shake the table a little bit. Okay. And that's what it looks like. If I stamped it after doing this, I wouldn't get a really good coverage of the stamped image because of the detail of the embossed cardstock. So let me move this out of the way, and let me bring this in and my card base. I'm going to add some adhesive to the back of this. Oh, am I almost done with this already? Okay, I don't want to press too hard because what happens is going to start pulling up the cardstock. Okay, and then I'm going to add this to my card base. I want to make sure that I got it the right way. If you had watched my Valentine's Day holiday video, I had pulled out a paper pumpkin kit from January of 2023. This was one that I hadn't even opened it up out of the cellophane, and I figured, okay, well, let's make it an easy video, and I would create all three, all 9 cards. So there were 3 different cards, 3 each, so a total of 9 cards. And paper pumpkin kits are easy to do. They're not difficult, they're not hard. But I don't know what I did. I put all my stuff on it, and when all was said and done, I realized it was all upside down. So once I got those cards done, I kind of fixed it before I came back on again to finish the video. Okay, So what I'm going to do now, I have another piece of this black and white gingham ribbon, and I'm going to thread it through this hole here on my tag. Now what I'm also going to do, let me bring in my reverse locking tweezers. This is part of our embossing editions kit, and this is going to be my third hand. So I'm going to just make these even, and then I'm going to take my tweezers and I'm just going to clamp those ends together so it's not moving all around. And then I've cut a piece of linen thread, and I'm going to tie a bow around this. Instead of taking that gingham ribbon and tying it in a knot, I'm going to just tie this around it and make a bow. See. Okay. All right. We could take that off. And let me just fix my bow here. Make these loops a little bit smaller. Okay. And then I'm going to add a few dimensionals to the back of this tag. And let me snip some of these because these edge pieces are still good. You don't want to waste any dimensionals. Okay. And then let me remove the backings off of this. Okay. And then I'm going to bring in my card base, and I'm going to add this at an angle. We're going to add that about there. Okay. And then I'm going to come in with my paper snips, and I'm going to trim this gingham ribbon. So, and then on this ribbon here, one of the things I like to do, so the linen thread is on a spool, so you can see that it's got a curl to it. Well, I want to add more curl to that. So I'll just run my bone folder over, just like what you would do with curling ribbon for packages. Kind of do the same thing with my linen thread. Now, I do have my finger over the knot of this bow, so I'm not untying it. So I just add some more curl to it. Okay, so now I'm going to embellish my card. So I'm going to bring in these rhinestones again, and my take your pick tool, and I'm going to add a larger one down at the bottom here. Now with these embellishments, because you can see through them, what's really nice is that it takes on the color of the paper or the cardstock that you have behind it. Okay, and then I'll bring in one of these medium ones, and I'll add that up here, and then I have a small one that I'm going to add right about there. And then one other touch, I'm going to bring in my Wink of Stella. And just like my other watermelon slices from the other card, I'm going to brush over on just the Calypso coral colored part of it and just avoid brushing over the seeds because I do not want to smear the black into my Calypso coral. So this card has the sparkle from the Wink of Stella and also the iridescent rhinestones. Okay, so there is the second card. So let me put this aside and let me tidy these stamps up a little bit and pull out the stamps for the next card. So this will be, as I'm doing that, here is the other card that we will be doing. So I'll leave that out as I pull out the stamps that I need. Okay, so I'm going to need this sliced one. I'm going to need the leaf. I'm going to need the seed. And I don't need this big watermelon. And let me put that there. And then for my greeting, I'm going to use the Love You More that's in this set. I actually used this stamp when I did my, what was it, Sending Love live that I did. Ooh, when did I do that? I think I did it like did I do it 2 weeks? Yeah, 2 weeks ago. Because the last one I did was Share a Milkshake. So that one that I did, Sending Love, was the one with the mailbox. And I used this stamp on that. So let's see. Again, with this one, I'm going to place it on my block. And I want the bottom edge of this greeting that says You More. And I want to line that up to this bottom edge. That's how since I don't put the labels on the back of them, I just line it up to the bottom edge of the block. And if I have it lined up on the block, to the block, when I go to stamp, I just look at the bottom edge here. Okay, so I have all of these mounted. So for my pieces, let me look at my PDF here. So I tell you the right measurements. So I have a piece of Melon Mambo that's 8.5 by 5.5, and it's scored at 4.25. And I'm going to fold that, and I'm going to burnish that. Okay, and I'll set that aside. And then I have a piece of Parakeet Party. So the difference between Parakeet Party and Lemon Lime Twist is that the Parakeet Party is a little more greenish, where the Lemon Lime Twist is a little bit more yellowish. So this one is a brighter color. So this is Parakeet Party. This measures 5.25 by 4. So this is going to be a layer for the top of that. And then I have some pieces of white cardstock. So let's see. I have a piece. This measures 3.75 by 2.25. And then this piece is 3.75 by 1. And then this piece is 2.25 by 1/2. And then this piece here is 1.5 by 1 3/8. So I will be stamping on each of these pieces, and then these will get glued on to this piece. So to start off, I'm going to set these aside, and on this larger piece, I'm going to bring in just this scratch paper here, just so when I go to stamp off of this piece, I don't get it all over. So for this card, I'm using the Garden Green. I am using, let's see, I'll be using Granny Apple Green. And then Flirty Flamingo is not one I'm using on this card. I'll be using Melon Mambo and Parakeet Party. Okay, so for this one, I am going to, let's see, I'm going to stamp the rind actually first. I'm going to bring in my Garden Green, and I'm going to bring in the rind, and I'm going to stamp these randomly on this piece. So I'm going to stamp one, it's the right size, right? Yeah, it's the right size. For some reason it looks smaller. I'm going to stamp this in the middle like this. And stamp off here. And then do another one right here. And I'll stamp one here. It looks like it's going to be confusing, but it's not that bad. Just got to take my time when I go to stamp the Melon Mambo portion of this. Okay, so we're done with the rind. Let me close this up for a moment. And then I'm going to bring in my Melon Mambo. And I'm going to bring in the filler piece. Now I want to stamp this off and see how dark it's going to be. Let's see. Just debating if I want to stamp it off. We'll stamp it full strength. So for this, I'm going to get up on my tippy toes here. And I'm just going to place it in within the rind. That one shifted on me. Okay. All right. So let me close this up for the time being. And then I'm going to bring in my seed. And I'm going to bring in the Memento Tuxedo Black ink. And I'm going to add my seeds to each of these slices. Almost there. Okay. So for this piece, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in my sponge dauber, and this is the one I have for Melon Mambo ink. And I'm going to bring in my Melon Mambo, and I'm going to add some ink to the edge of this piece of cardstock. So kind of creating a border without adding an extra piece of cardstock behind it. Just so this way it kind of stands off, it kind of stands out on that piece of Parakeet Party cardstock. Okay, I'm going to set that aside, and then I'm going to bring in this long strip here. Now on this piece, what I'm going to do, I'm going to bring in my leaf, and I'm going to use my garden green and the Parakeet Party. So I'm going to start off using my Parakeet Party, and I'm going to ink this up, and just like what I did on that tag on the last card, I'm going to randomly stamp these on this strip. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp off, and I'm just going to fill in a little bit. I am coming in with the garden green. I'm just going to fill this in a little bit. Okay, so I'm done with this one. And then I'm going to clean this off. There's a lot of ink on this block. So last Saturday, I had my in-person Be Mine Valentine class using the Be Mine suite of products. And we had a great time, even though it rained that day. We had a good time. We had some yummy snacks. I had some veggies, and we had some cake and chips and chocolate. All the chocolate that was left over from when I created those treat bags from my church. That I did 36 treat bags, and there was stuff left over, so that became part of the snacks for that day. So for the garden green, what I'm doing is I am inking it up, and then I am stamping it off before I stamp it on this piece because the color is pretty bold. Okay, so I'm gonna leave it at that. And actually, I still need this. Okay, so I'm going to bring in a sponge dauber from my garden green. I'm going to ink this up, and I'm going to do the same as I did on that other piece. I'm going to add some to the edges of this piece of cardstock. So we had a good time, and and then the next day I brought all those treat bags to church, and the table that we had set up. I didn't get a picture of the actual table. I did take a picture of all the treat bags that morning before I left, and I did post that on my business Facebook page, and I think I also shared it on my regular Facebook page. Okay, So there's that piece. I'm going to set that aside. And then I'm going to bring in this larger piece here and my Love You More stamp and my Stays On ink, and ink this up. But make sure I ink this up really well. And then I'm going to center this, or attempt to stamp it straight and in the center. I'm going to hold it there for a moment. Okay. And I'll take this and let me clean this off really quick. And clean this since I have this out. I really do like the Stampin' Scrub. It really gets the stamps clean. I do have a chamois, but for some reason I've been using that more often. Okay, so then for this piece here, I'm going to bring in my Granny Apple green. And I have a sponge dauber for that as well. And I'm going to put some ink on that, and then I'm going to go around the edges of this cardstock. Now I'm going with Granny Apple Green rather than the Parakeet Party, because I want to be able to have this stand out rather than kind of blend in with that background. Okay, put that aside. And I'm done with my Granny Apple Green. Now for this little piece, let me get a clean piece here. So for this small piece here, what I'm going to do with this one, I have a blending brush. Now, this is not one of the Stampin' Up ones. This is one that I purchased way before we got our blending brushes. And I use that with my Melon Mambo ink. And I'm going to add some ink to this. Now I'm going to go off the edge because I don't want a really harsh blotch of the pink on this. And I could have used Melon Mambo cardstock, but the effect that I'm doing with doing it this way with the blending brush is that you can see it's not quite as dark as the actual cardstock. Okay. Then for this piece, what I'm going to do, I want to make sure I got it the right orientation. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, I will be using this again because I'm going to use my sponge dauber along the edge of that. But what I want to do first is I want to bring in my little seed and my Memento ink. And I'm going to start in the middle. And I'm just going to randomly stamp these. We've got one here. And then one more down here. Okay, we're done with that. And then, like I mentioned, I'm going to bring in my Melon Mambo sponge dauber. And I'm going to do the edges of this piece. Originally, when I did the sample for this card, I just put the seeds on there and I didn't add any of the ink to it. And it just didn't, I don't know, all that white, it just, I don't know, it just didn't look right. I didn't think it looked right on the card, so that's why I decided to use my blending brush to add some of the color. So we got some on the edge there, so I'm going to put that aside. And now we're going to assemble our card. So before I go and I glue down my Parakeet party piece, I'm going to take all of these pieces and I'm going to adhere it to this. Now when I put these pieces down, I want to try and have an even border around the top and the side edges with these pieces. It's going to go together like so. And let me bring in, for this I'm going to use my liquid glue. And I'm going to start off with this piece here. And I'm going to add some glue. And the glue that's in that bottle is the Tombow multi-purpose glue that we sell in our annual catalog. And I just put it in a fine tip glue bottle that I got on Amazon. So again, when I'm done with this live, I will go back and I will add the link to that in the description, along with all the rest of the other items that aren't there at the moment. Okay, so that piece is on there. And then I'm going to take the Love You More and I'm going to put that down first. And I'm going to take, now the other thing that I'm going to use here to line this up, I have a T-squared ruler here. And I'm going to take this and I'm going to line it up with this piece I have up here at the top. And then I'm going to take this and I'm going to place it down like so, just to help me line this all up. Okay, and then I'm going to add some glue to the back of this piece. And I do this so that way that center strip that I put in, there'll be an equal distance between these panels and that one. Let me move this over, move it up a little bit. so. And I can do the same thing with this ruler here. Line it up on this side. Do this before the glue dries. Okay. Don't really want to rub my finger on that or I'll end up with the ink on me. Okay. So I don't need this anymore. Okay, and now I'm going to bring in my glue and I'm going to adhere this strip down in between those other pieces. It's a little bit easier to line it up on the side here. So, okay. Now, before I take this piece and adhere it to my card base, I have another piece of this black and white gingham ribbon. I think this ribbon is just, it's so pretty up against like these really bright colors of the pinks and the greens. So I'm going to bring in my locking tweezers again. And for this, I'm just going to tie a knot. I'm not going to tie a bow. If you wanted to tie a bow, you're more than welcome to, but I just felt, you know what, I don't want to fight trying to do a bow. So I'm going to use my tweezers again just to kind of hold that. So then I can come in and do my knot. Do it this way. Okay, let me hold that down and let me remove that. And there we go. I'm going to take this and I just want to move it a little bit into the middle and then slide it up. So that way it's right in between. And then I'm going to take some dimensionals. And this is where these edge pieces come in and they work perfectly. Cut them apart. I'll add some to the back of this. And I want to get some also in the middle so I don't have a saggy middle. This is what these edge pieces are perfect for. So there's no waste when it comes to these dimensionals. Okay, there's just one little piece. Let's just go ahead and use that. And I'll place that over that right there. Now let me remove the backings. So this live is going a little bit longer than my other ones, but not too bad because I did do some talking about, you know, with our celebration offering on what's going on. Okay, now I'm going to take this and I'm going to center that on my card base, like so. And then I'm going to trim the ends of my ribbon. Like so. And then with my Wink of Stella, I'm going to just add some of this to the center watermelon. I'm not going to put it on all of them. And again, just like with the other ones, I'm going to just put it on on all, well, not the rind, but just the melon mambo part, and avoiding on going over the seeds, because again, I don't want to spread the black into the pink. We don't want a black watermelon. And what this Wink Estella pen brush is doing, it's actually picking up some of this Melon Mambo ink, so you can see I've kind of like filled it in a little bit. Okay, and then I'm going to bring in the iridescent rhinestone jewels and my take your pick tool. And again, I'm going to add one of each of the sizes. So we have a larger, what is this? Does this say what sizes? There's a 4, 5, and 6 millimeter size. So the 6 millimeter is the larger one, so I'm going to add that here, and take one of these medium ones and stick that right here, and then a small one I'm going to add on the block of my greeting right there. Okay, guys, so that is our projects. So let me just move some of this stuff out of the way. Okay, just slide that all over. Okay, so let me bring in, let me just show you, that's how it came out. Looking through my phone, I could see that this Parakeet party cardstock is really popping. So this was this card we just finished, our third card. This was our second one. I really like how the pop of that Calypso Coral watermelon amongst all the green. And I really like how the leaves are on that tag. I really like that tag. And then there's our first card that was just a little more of a simpler design. Okay, so again, if you like these cards and you would like the free card kits, the card kits would contain all of the cardstock that I use. There's actually no DSP on here, so all the cardstock components, even the scraps, for stamping and fussy cutting. For this tag, I will die cut this tag out for you. And like I said, all these pieces will be cut out. Now, nothing will be stamped, okay? Um, that's against Stampin' Up policy. I cannot pre-stamp. And if it turned out that this stamp set actually came with either a punch or it came with a set of dies, I still really couldn't do that, because, you would really want to stamp the image first and then punch or die cut. So all you would need is the stamp set. So again, there's watercolor melon, and I also used the heartfelt hellos. These are both celebration offerings that you can get until the end of this month, February 29th. Now, if you don't have these stamp sets, you are more than welcome to utilize the cardstock pieces and just use what you have. So if you like this video or this live, please give it a thumbs up. And for those of you that, well, I don't see any comments, so I don't know if there's something going on. But for those of you that have come back and you've watched the replay, thank you for watching. And again, if you like this video, you like these projects, please give this video a thumbs up. And if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to my channel. It does help me in not only growing my channel, but it also helps me in building my Stampin' Up! Business. So until next Friday, thank you for joining me, everyone, and you all have a blessed one. Bye-bye.